Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia. So today I'm going to be sharing with you two different ways to do a little bit of selective ink blending onto your cards. So I'm going to be starting with the very beautiful and useful Halftone Hearts nesting dies. So I'm going to be using these onto a panel, but firstly I'm going to be adhering these down onto a piece of acetate. So the acetate is the same size as my card panel, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just adhering these down using some of the Altenew glue tape. So I'm just going to pop these where I want them to be, but as I'm doing this onto a guide, this is going to be reversed, so when I flip it over and cut it into the cardstock, it is going to be on the other side. So you're going to want to have that in mind when you're doing it this way. So I'm just adding these along where I want them to be. I'm using most of the shapes, although I'm not going to be using the largest of them because I don't want the largest one on there. So I have used 6 of these out of the packet. So you can see I'm just using that little tiny one. And again, I am using the glue tape behind these just to keep them in place. This will stick them to the acetate and you'll be able to remove them later on. So once I have them on the acetate, I'm going to flip that round, and you can see how I said that the design is going to be reversed. Now it's on the other side of my card rather than the side that it was working on. So you just need to keep that in mind when you do it that way. Once it's all in place and I've added a little bit of washi tape so it doesn't move, I'm going to run that through my cutting machine, and then I'm going to remove the washi tape again, and then I'm going to keep all of these pieces. I do use this guide, the acetate guide with the hearts on, a couple more times to create another couple of panels as well. So once I've got that, this is going to be my mask first. I am going to add this onto another panel, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, exactly the same size, and I'm going to add some washi tape just to keep this in place. Then for the selective ink blending part, I'm going to add the hearts that I don't want to blend back into place. So I'm using some of the Altenew glue tape again, but I'm taking some of that sticky off on the back of my hand. You could do it on your trousers if you wanted to, but I find this much more easy just to do it on my hand. It's much more quicker. So I'm adding the hearts back into place that I don't want to blend at this minute. So I'm just going to leave 2 of them open so I can then blend into those. Once I have the hearts into place, I'm then going to start my blending. So I'm going to start with 2 of the hearts, and I am using a tealy colour for this. So this is the Mountain Mist, and I'm just going to add this along the top of those hearts. I want to create kind of a gradient effect in these hearts to give it a little bit more interest when we look at the card later on rather than a solid colour. So I'm adding the Mountain Mist to the top, and then once I have finished with the Mountain Mist, I'm then going to move on to Volcano Lake. I'm using mini ink blenders, so little finger daubers here. You could use little sponges if you wanted to, or even makeup sponges do work as well. So I went from the top with the Mountain Mist, but for the Volcano Lake, I'm going to go from the bottom, and I'm going to blend those colours so they mix nicely together. As you can see, I've got a little bit on that heart below it, but because we've got that mask into place, it should be fine. I'm then going to take some Lagoon, so I'm using 3 colours on each of the blended hearts, and I'm just going to add that to the very bottom of the hearts. I'm then going to remove the masks that I'm going to be going into next, and as you can see, that ink has caught it on the edge of that mask, but it's good because the mask was there. I'm then going to add in the mask on top of the hearts that I don't want to blend onto again. So I'm going to remove the hearts that I want to blend and put the hearts back in that I don't want to. Again, I've added a little bit of the tape behind. I'm then going to be using some Citrus Burst on this one. So this is a beautiful yellow colour. Again, I'm adding that to the top. I'm then going to flip it round, and then I'm going to add some ink to the bottom. This time is the Fresh Lemon. So this is a really beautiful bold yellow colour, and I'm then going to use some maple yellow as well, just to go on the very tips or the very bottom of that heart. Again, I'm going to pop the hearts back into place and remove the ones that I want to ink into. This time I'm going to be using some Pink Diamond, so I'm adding that to the tops of the hearts. Then I'm going to flip that around again, and I'm then going to use some beautiful Pinkalicious, and then just to the very edges, very tips, very bottoms of the heart, I'm going to be using some Rubellite. So once all of the ink blending is done, I can then remove the mask. So I'm just going to carefully remove the washi tape from behind and then take the mask off. And then this layer is complete, and I'm then going to move on to my next one. I do love how those hearts turned out. So I'm then going to move on to my next one. I'm going to use the same mask as before. I'm just going to pop this into place onto another panel. I'm then going to take a pencil and I'm going to lightly pencil in those hearts. We're not actually using the mask as we did the first time. We're just going to kind of use this as a stencil, and we're going to do it a different way this time. So I'm just going to add in very faint lines and then remove that mask away again. So I don't need this anymore, but I'm going to be using something else. So I'm going to use some scratch paper. So I'm just going to add this around one of the hearts that I want to ink first. I'm going to add a little bit of washi tape just to make it a little bit more stable and keep it into place, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You could just use something else. I'm then going to just use an eraser to get away the pencil lines. Just do that, and then I'm going to ink again. Again, I'm going to use the same colors as before, and I have a little bit more of a larger area to ink into this time. I've just made sure that those scratch paper are over the other hearts and outlining this heart that we're just doing at the minute. So I've used the same colors as before. So I'm using the Pink Diamond, the Pinkalicious, and the Rubellite for the pinks. And as you can see, I am using a eraser every time I pop the scratch paper around the hearts, just to get rid of the heart outline first. You could do it afterwards if you wanted to, but I did find that the ink does cover the line a little bit, so it's sometimes a little bit more difficult to erase after you've inked it. So I do find that it's easier to pop your masked area around, so the scratch paper around the heart, then use your eraser to get rid of the pencil line and then to ink. Again, you can do it the other way if you want to. I just find that this is an easy way to get rid of the pencil lines. I'm then going to keep going on with this, adding the scratch paper around the hearts that I want to do, and then keep the eraser, then the ink in. So for the inks, I used the same as before for the teals, so the Mountain Mist, the Volcano Lake, and the Lagoon. And for the yellows, I'm going to be using the Citrus Burst, the Fresh Lemon, and the Maple Yellow as well. So I just keep going with this until it's all completely done, and this is going to give you such a much larger area of the inking rather than the the contained heart area of the stencil before. So you can see the difference there. So we have much more heart on the first one and then not so much of a heart in the second one. I'm then going to add a little bit of detail and interest to these hearts, so I flicked a little bit of water onto the inks. Because they're water-based inks, they do react with the water, so they'll blend a little bit nicely. And then I'm adding a little bit of pure white spray ink for a little bit of splattering as well, so 2 different splatters on there. So I'm then going to use the Halftone Heart stamp set. I'm just going to use 2 of the sentiments on here on each of the panels. So these are the 2 that I cut before. You didn't see me cut these. I cut 1 for the stencil, then I cut another 2 to use as layers on my card. So I'm just going to pop the sentiments on, and I'm using some jet black ink for that. So I'm just going to add my panels onto my card bases, and again I'm using my trusty Altenew glue pen, and I'm just going to add some glue to each of the card bases and then add my panels on. So both of these have been left to dry, so the water and the ink sprays are nice and dry. So once I've done that, I'm going to add some of the foam tape behind the die cut layers. I did add a substantial amount, especially around the hearts, so they do pop up nicely from the base layer and give you a beautiful little shadow behind. So I'm just going to pop that down into place, and then once I've done the first one, I've added a lot of glue, foam tape, behind the layer, and I'm then going to pop this into place. This one is a little bit more tricky to get into place because this one has got the proper heart shapes, so you're going to want to make sure that you've got that perfectly in place. So here are the cards complete, and you can see the 2 different looks. They're not too different, but they do have a different time to do, and I do like how both of them turned out as well. So again, here is the cards. I really do hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you like the technique and that you do give it a go. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you do want to watch any more videos, there's a couple more here that you can watch at your leisure. And if you don't want to miss out on anything that we do upload to the channel, it would be great if you do subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.